The cults that tortured and trafficked me from baby onward deliberately, calculatingly tried to interfere with my therapy, because therapy would mean getting safe sooner and being able to remember who tortured me and what they did. So I had two really good therapists over the years when I was still being tortured and trafficked. And the cults deliberately tried to replicate, impersonate both of them and replicate their offices. And I think that they got someone from a neighboring cult that was like on the periphery, where I would have been trafficked to them, but wouldn't have seen all the abusers. For both of the therapists, they tried to match the person with like the height and the general weight of the body and like skin color and gender. But they dressed them up, used wigs, costumes, etc., and they replicated both of the therapist offices as much as they could by asking someone inside, by torturing someone inside and forcing them to describe what it looked like. And then they also used recordings, so voicemail recordings from both of the therapists, stories or messages that they had recorded from my inner kids, and the cult distorted all that and changed it so it was horrific messages. And then they had the cult member dressed up pretending to be my therapist, and me drugged up, and the therapist would sexually assault and torture me, and this happened many times, and telling me really horrific things and not to talk about what I was talking about. And so that was deliberately trying to interfere with my therapy. And they did the same thing again. Like, so they did this multiple times, but they also did it where the therapist, like the pretend therapist who wasn't my therapist, and I'm so glad that we could always see through this, even when we were drugged. They had it so that we were telling the therapist something of the trauma, and then they pretended that that killed my therapist. And then they even had her in like a coffin and doing a fake funeral. And again, that ties into programming that the cult had done for years about, if I talked about the trauma, it would kill people I cared about. If I hugged someone that I cared about, it would kill the person. Like those are messages that they give over and over and over, as well as that, like, if we ever tell anyone, they will believe us or they will hurt us. So that was reinforcing past mind control that they had done, but it was all very elaborate. And then also throughout the years, they used therapeutic techniques and modalities in some of the torture, even before I ever knew about it, those modalities, or even before I even used them in therapy, including hypnosis, grounding techniques, EMDR, therapeutic talk therapy, even visualization. They used all of those things with torture and mind control and sexual assault, and of course, drugging me up. And it was all done deliberately and calculatingly to interfere with my therapy, to keep me and other folks inside with a dissociative identity from talking about the trauma and being able to identify our abusers or remember what had happened or try to get safe. It was all deliberate for the benefit of the cult to keep us from getting safe. And it is cruel and calculated.